So we are a Jindal Steel and Power. We are a steel company, but we are not a normal steel company. We are focused on the infrastructure. So we have been discussing about the various aspects of infrastructure, steel design. So we are the people who can give all, or we can supply you the material, whatever you are looking for a better requirement. So we are our vision is typically we want to be an ever-flourishing company, focus on nation building, value creation, and sustainable development. The sustainable development is that everybody talking about the longevity and making planet more green and more sustainable. So we are taking steps towards it. So as I said, we are an infrastructure company. We have all the products right from TMT, we have plates, we have a sheet pile, we have angle, channel, beam. We have a only company who can manufacture parallel flange beam, universal beam, and universal column. At the same time, we have a view fabrication division. We have a coil, which are either plate root coils, and at the same time, we have set up with the HSM mill. And we have added two new products, that is corrugated web beam and square and rectangular hollow section. These new two products has been just come to production few months back. And yesterday we have a detailed discussion presentation on the corrugated web columns. In case of steel, the steel can be manufactured in the various ways. There is a blast furnace route, smelting reduction, and direct reduction. And the last route is using a recyclable, that is a scrap, that is called the scrap recycling. So all four are available with us. We can manufacture from the blast furnace route or DRI route or sponge route. At the same time, we have a furnace which can use 100% scrap. So with the scrap route, we got the EPT certification, wherein our carbon emission is in range of 500 kg per ton, which in the normal circumstances, it will be close to 2,500 kg, that is 2.5 ton per ton of steel production. So these are our typical range for the structural steel, right, starting from the UB, you can manufacture from 152 to 886. And that we can give in a various flange and various sectional widths. Then at the same time, we have universal column 152 to 368 into 406. At the same time, we have a HE section, W section, NPB section, IPE section, HE section, technically which call as a WPB section, wide parallel flange beams, that we can supply to you in various sectional weights. Again, we have channels, we can have angle which can be used for the bracing and other application. At the time, we have ultra light structure that's called as a bantam beam, which can be used for the making a small hoppices or can be used as a tailor applications. At the same time, we have various type of rail available, crane rails and track rails. Crane rails will be manufactured as per IS 3443 and the rail will be produced as per IRA specification. This is a typical process flow diagram of any rolling mill. You may be wondering how we can manufacture so many sections from the one mill. The answer lies in the roll design. The roll, there are 4 rolls, 2 are vertical and 2 are horizontal. With each roll set, we can manufacture a particular family of the section like UB203 into 133 will have a one roll set, and that roll set can vary the distance between 2 rolls, and from which we will able to get various web and flange thicknesses which will govern your sectional weights. We use our own raw material, that is a bloom. The bloom has a various grooves inbuilt which will help us to do the rolling in a proper way. So as we know, the steel has inherent advantage in case of RCC. It can be built in super quick. In the last presentation, we have seen that the project can be completed within 15 months with the help of the steel. It couldn't have been completed within the super quick time if everything has gone on the RCC. Here we can also look into expansion. If you want to do any further extension of any structural, it can be done easily. If it has gone through any catastrophe or maybe any failure, it can be repaired. At the same time, it can be done in any type of shape and any type of architectural design. And the last but most important point is that it's 100% recyclable. If you see any RCC building, when it demolished, you know how much derby and other things have been generated which cannot be used. Even the TMT bar which has been used inside will not be that in good condition, can be used as a scrap. So here the all steel building technically can be used as a raw material to make a new steel buildings. These are the typical advantage of JSPL. JSPL is manufacturing parallel flange beam in which the flange is parallel. There is no taper at the end. We have better properties with respect to the taper flange beam. If you can see what the same web and flange combination, we have better XX and YY properties which will give you the better design liberty to go for a required section. At the same time, we have, with the same combination of web and flange, we have various type of sectional weights available. If you can see, there are typical example, UB 457 into 191, we write from 67 kg per meter up to 161 kg per meter. So you are not limited by the choice. You can use up to a last stage where you can go for the as much as optimization, because whatever you, if you are putting extra sectional weight, not because of non-availability, ultimately you are not increasing the dead weight, but also you are increasing the other supporting costs like the transportation, the labor, the lifting, everything will go on the higher scale. This is the one more thing which differentiates parallel flange beam from the tapered section beam. Here our flange is a parallel, so you don't have a issue of bolt shank bending. If you see in this typical diagram, what the diagram shows is a tapered section beam where you do the tightening of the bolt, the shank get bent. At the same time, if you decide to do the welding, at the end you have very little surface area where you can do the welding. At the same time, as we have a flange, if you see the ISMB 200 by 100, you have a flange of 100 mm only, but in the same time, in case of UB 203, you have a flange of 133 mm width. So technically, you can, rather than having a 2 or 3 connection bolts, you can go for a more wider connection joints that will avoid the zipper effect. What is zipper effect? Once the initial bolts or the joints fail, it will start putting a pressure on the next joint and it will open like a zip. So technically avoid this when you do the connection joint. In case of taper flange beam, the length of the splice or the length of the joint at least almost gets double from the parallel flange beams. Fourth advantage is that we can manufacture any strength metal, right? E350, 410 or 450 or even 550. For us, the lead time of manufacturing of any sectional, any grade is the same, because we are going to roll all the section in one go for all the grade, all the section. So typical thumb rule is that once you increase the YS by 100, your weights come down by 50%, but at the same time there is a charges on the grade extra, so you lose out something on the cost, but definitely the gain is more on case of weight saving. So we are talking about up to 15% increase, but here we have to notice, we have to keep in mind one thing, that you need to start design the high strength steel from the beginning. It is not that you design something and then in between you change from the low strength to the high strength, then the design will not justify the saving. So it is always better you take in consideration of what are the strength we can optimize. Then once the designing is started with the high strength steel, definitely you will find that there is a substantial saving. In fact, the JSP was the only company or the first company who started manufacturing TMT in 550 MPa-D. Then slowly everybody has moved to 550. Earlier it was 416, then 500D. Now entire thing is being stabilized at 550 because people have started understanding the advantage of using high strength steel, whether it's a TMT, plates or beams. Other advantage is that we can give the customized length. In the market, typically the people are using 12 meter and then they are cutting the end piece or doing the joint. Here we can give you the customized length right from 6 meter to 16 meters, so that it can avoid the wastage as well as you can avoid the joints also. We can also give a faster and time-bound delivery, because whatever the section we are manufacturing, at least we are rolling all section at least once in a month. So you have a definite timeline available with you. Other thing is that as you are using virgin steel, virgin iron, so our mill or our products are better in having the YS-UTS ratio, so elongation is more than whatever the required. Also, at the same time, we can supply you on the number of piece basis so that there won't be any shortage at the project, when at the completion of your project. At the same time, we can supply you without any MOQ. That we, as we are rolling in the campaign of 1,500, we can roll maybe the 5 ton, 10 ton or 50 ton. But it is always better to have a MOQ of 5 ton per section so that it is easy for us to do the supply. So this is a typical thing how you can optimize. You can have superior products. You can have a optimized sectional weights. You can have a customized length. You can have a high strength steel. At the same time, you can get a delivery on time, wherein all the summation will be there. You can save cost up to say 10 to 15% without much of efforts. Now coming to the next, the grade development that we have developed, the grade called fire resistant steel. It is as per IS 5103, which calls for sustaining of 600 degrees Celsius temperature for 3 hours, where your YS or UTS will not drop to less than 2/3 of a original design. So why this is required? Because as more and more steel structure or residential things are coming in the structural steel, the fire resistance or the fireproofing is an area where the people find the costs are prohibitive. At the same time, when you do the application of external media, it is a time consuming as well, it is a labor incentive. So it is as good as taking a vaccine for the corona rather than taking a treatment on the symptoms. So once you have a fire resistant steel, you can use it as it is bare, no need of any external media, no external treatment or media is required for the doing the fireproofing. All the section what we are doing are available in fire resistant grade. And as of now, we are making it equivalent to E350. So it is actually high strength steel with having a YS minimum of 350 and UTS of 490 plus. And elongation and other properties are typically same as your normal steel. So there is no issue of weldability. There is no issue of formability. At the same time, when you do the welding, the grades of electrode is already mentioned, E7108. And at the same time, when you do the welding, the weld joint is also well protected from the fire because you are adding the same or moving the same parent material to the weld joint. At the same time, the thickness of that particular weld portion will be increased. So there is no issue of any failure at the joint. Now the section, other products what we have started is the JSP hollow section. It is a DFT technology. In case of normal circumstances or the people traditionally do the round and then they roll into the square or the rectangular. Here we are not using it. The strip will be folded and covered into or form into the rectangular and the square section. In case of rectangle, we can go from 100 into 150 up to 450 into 600. In case of square section, we can go from 150 into 150 up to 600 by 600. And in case of thickness, we can go from 4 mm to 22 mm. And the strength, we can go up to 550 MPa. For this, we are going to use our own raw material. So there is no issue of availability. There is no issue of any quality issue or any quality parameter. So these are the typical advantage that we can give you superior finish. We can give a shorter lead time. But at the same time, the technology what you are using, it is best in the class as of now. These are the range. This is the one new product which we have added in our portfolio, which we have discussed yesterday. It is a corrugated web beam or the sinusoidal web beam. Here the beam is the same as a truss beam, but in case of this, the web is not a straight, it is a corrugated. We have the corrugation, it is a cold roll or cold fabric forming technology in which it will be welded to the beam. Here we can give you web thickness right from 1.5 mm. Typically people look for the 4 mm, but we can go up to 6 mm also. In case of flange, we can go up to 120 mm up to 450 mm. Standard length can be 12 meter, but if required, we can go up to 14 or even 20 mm also. The same beam can be supplied as a tapered beam or asymmetric beam. So there is no constraint that how to go for the cutting and welding. It is not required. We can supply you in the tapered as well as a asymmetric beam. These are the typical application where you can see there is a weight saving of up to 30% with respect to the roll, and another maybe 10 to 15% saving with respect to the fabricated. These are the typical application. If you can see, the aesthetically also it is good, and you can also use that as a beam, primary beam or secondary beam, or also as a support column. These are the typical use case that JSPL steel has been used in high-rise building. Here we have developed few sections which can be used as a ready-made grid, like 450 into 160, then 500 into 180. It has been used in various projects outlined here, including Chale and DLF projects, which has been substantially saved not only the weight but also the construction timing. These are the typical example. Above is a DLF building, and below is a Chale hotel building, which has been specifically designed in case of cut to length, customized length, as well as the customized sectional weights. Thank you. We are available outside if you have any queries.